What's doing, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. As always, if you've been here before, welcome back. And if you've never been here, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and check out some of the videos that I have. Plenty of videos. On this channel, we follow criminal cases. We talk about the criminal justice system. We talk about my 17 years incarcerated. And I try and take you through that journey in an intellectual way. Today, we are going to talk about a criminal case that took place some time ago. As you see right here, this is an image of Lisa Campitelli. And Lisa Campitelli was born on October 14th, 1989 in Miami, Florida. Some of you may have heard about this case, but it is now in the limelight again for several reasons. So again, Linda Campitelli was born on October 14th, 1989. She was born in Miami, Florida. She attended the University of Miami and took health science. She received her bachelor's. In 2014, she became a registered nurse. She then married John, a physician. Of course, the nurse married the doctor. She married John in 2016 after meeting him in 2015. They would go on to have one daughter named Madison. She didn't need or want anything in her life. If you could imagine a nurse being married to a physician in Miami, Florida, they purchased a 6,000 square foot home, over almost $1 million, valued at over $900,000 back in 2015. They would then have another daughter named Olivia. In 2022, they were working at the Wellington Regional Medical Center, having a good life, but Linda started to have an affair with a fellow nurse, and that fellow nurse was Renee Perez. Renee is a man, and she started to have a relationship. She started to cheat on her husband with Renee Perez, who was a nurse. And Renee Perez was also married to a physician. So what we have here is we have a nurse cheating on her doctor husband, and then we have a nurse, Renee, cheating on his doctor wife. You know, they say that nursing is the #1 profession for infidelity. I'm not saying that. That's what many studies have found out, that nursing is the most unfaithful profession as far as relationships go. The reasons that they give for this is the very long hours that the nurses spend away from their spouses, usually doing 12-hour shifts. So you have to think of this. If you do 12 hours, let's say you're a woman, and you work 12 hours away from your husband, that is half the day away from your husband with other men who are away from their wives. After the 12 hours, you go home and you sleep for 8 hours. That's 90% of the day almost that you are not with your spouse, because then you wake up and start preparing for work again. And so you have all these males and females in a hospital setting that are locked away from their spouses for 90% of the day. And things happen, and they definitely happen in this case. So Renee is cheating on his wife. Linda's cheating on her husband. And we'll fast forward to October 28th, 2024. On October 28th, 2024, as the relationship is going on, as they are meeting for years, they decide that they are going to a dinner together. Well, I'm sorry, Linda told her husband that she was going to dinner, and she put on her fancy red dress and her black heels, but she was actually going to a birthday party with Renee. They were meeting for a birthday party. Neither one of their birthdays, for someone else's birthday party. But it was at this time that they were on film. Renee was seen on film leaving the hospital. Linda was caught on film leaving her house. And shortly after this, a 911 call was made of a woman lying face down in the middle of the roadway in a red dress. And she was found there dead. She had skull fractures. She was brutally beaten. She had broken ribs. She had skull fractures. She had cuts and abrasions to her back and her face. And she was laying face down in the street. Her car was still running. She was still in that red dress. Um, she had her phone was found about 25 feet away. And the car had a flat tire with a screw in it. So the scene was made to look like she pulled over and was examining her flat tire when a vehicle may have struck her. But the police quickly realized that this was a stage scene, which also tells you that the individual that did kill Linda must have known her, because if it was a stranger, if it was someone that came to mug her, if it was someone that came to rob her, or why would they stage a scene to make it look like something else? You see, this is where the psychology comes in. Nobody that would do a mugging would stage a scene. Nobody that would do an attempted sexual act would stage the scene. It would only be someone that knows you that tries to make the crime look like it was a stranger. And so the police finally realized that this scene is staged. At this point, their affair had been going on for years. When they look in Linda's phone, they find her WhatsApp where she was communicating with Renee, and a long history of text messages where they agreed to meet, where they talked about love, where they talked about their sexual life, where they talked about their desires. When they found Linda's car on the side of the road running, the back of the car the seats had been put down. There were hospital sheets laid down. In other words, the back of the vehicle was prepared for sex. So Linda and Renee were going to meet and have sex on the side of the road for their 2-year affair. Um, and I guess Linda got a little more than she thought. She didn't get the sex on that day. She got killed on that day. When they looked inside of Renee's phone, they saw the meeting that was to take place. Renee would end up getting arrested on March 10th, 2026. So he was just arrested for this. He will appear back in court in April. On camera, you have Renee leaving the hospital to go meet Linda, and he's wearing a gray pair of shoes. And then he's seen afterwards returning to the hospital with a white pair of shoes. The gray shoes were never found. Renee had 3 phones. The phones were traced and pinged. One phone was never found, but he is caught on video purchasing another phone. And so he allegedly, I have to say allegedly, Renee allegedly killed Linda. Now, I'm not saying that someone who cheats should be killed. I would never say that. People make mistakes. But this was a 2-year affair. Linda had everything in the world. Linda, on both ends, but Linda had everything in the world. Linda had a $900,000 home. Linda was married to a physician. Linda had 2 daughters. Linda had a fancy car. Linda had a fancy life. Linda's Facebook showed her on vacations all over the world. Linda portrayed herself to be happy. Linda portrayed herself to have this great, great life. But both of them Both of them were manipulative. Both of them were sneaky. Both of them were narcissistic. Both of them were cheaters. And so I always tell you stories like this because there's pictures of Linda with her husband shortly before this murder, smiling like she is the happiest woman in the world. And so someone on the surface would look at Linda and say, what a lucky woman. What a beautiful, lucky, blessed, happy woman that has everything in the world. And she portrays herself to be someone who's not. She's a liar. She's a scammer. She had two little daughters. She did this to her two little daughters. And Renee, the alleged killer, who's going to court in April, ruined his entire marriage to his physician wife. And so we will follow this case and get more information as it goes along. That, my friends, is what happens or what can happen when you live immorally. That's what can happen when you are not satisfied, and it happens in the lives of many people. It happens in the lives of many people where they just don't think what they have is enough. I think we've all may have even been guilty of that at one point in our life. But to carry on a 2-year affair when you have two children and you have the world, pardon the expression, you have the world by the balls, you have everything, vacations, cars, children, money, mansions, careers, a husband that loves you. But you could look at her and you see she loved to show off that body. She wasn't satisfied. She wanted to be this promiscuous whore. And the guy was doing the same, actually, not just knocking up. So this was bound for disaster. Bound for disaster. I hope you guys enjoyed the story, and I'll talk with you soon. Take care.